So they did get hijacked because their own sovereign system, their own inner resource, their own trust of their own things, it has been jeopardized. And then that comes the hijacking. So if people are doing drugs and alcohol, or they're in depression, or, in a low vibration, it is very, very easy to get in there and manipulate on a dark side. So how can we move from the chaos to the centeredness? How can we push away all of the scary things that are happening?
All right, welcome to the New Age Human Podcast. I'm your host, John Estacio, and in this episode, this is part 2 of our mindful conversation with Dr. Ursula Lentine. This episode, we dive into more of the action steps, including navigating uncertainty, accessing and understanding Christ consciousness or source, and taming the ego. Now, if you want to support the show, feel free to go to Apple Podcasts in that review section area and leave a 5-star review. It helps out the show a lot and helps us attract really good guests. And if you don't use that, you can always go to newagehuman.com and leave a review there. Now, let's get to the show. All right, so we're back, part 2, dressed in the same clothes because we're just going right after the other. No, the first part we spoke about just really laying the groundwork of the understanding of stuff that's going on outside of us and how to be aware of that. And now it's the idea of moving into the future in the unknown. And with social media, I'm sure it's going to change, but with social media right now, there's a lot of talk of just doom and gloom, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't help. So let's talk about navigating that territory of increasing unknown and social media and that doom and gloom. What do you got for us?
Good. Good. Because even before Plandemic and all of the other chaos, right? We're having so much input, so many things coming at us. Our body is also designed for alertness and fear and oh no. Because if they gave news and they're like, oh, everything's going well here, and this company's doing great, and these children are getting good grades, like we'd be like, But if we're like, oh, there was a shooting, like, oh, right? So we're designed to be triggered, right? People fight, and you're like, why are you guys fighting? And they're like, oh, we don't know. It's just what we always do, and we just keep fighting, and you're like, oh, okay. So just to know that our body is wired for alert and attention, and we feel alive when we're triggered, right? So if you know that game, then you're like, oh yeah, this is a manipulation. And my body, my brain, my caveman brain is still in there, and it's always on high alert. So I don't have to choose to put myself in high alert situations. Because in my world, I love peace and quiet. And my ego or my high alert self is like, this is kind of boring. I'm like, yeah, but it's great. And I am moving forward down my path. I'm becoming a better person. I'm having greater skill sets. I have peace and calm. I'm healthy. I sleep well. I make wise choices in my food. I enjoy myself. I enjoy nature. I'm able to be fully present when I'm with somebody. Why? Because I've tamed the ego. I've let the ego know, like, I can take better care of you than you could take care of me.
Well, how about this? What about that person? Let's say they give pushback to this and they're saying, hey, but there's going to be a food shortage and the economy is falling apart and the oceans are going to take over the coast and we got the wrong political leader. Whether you're left or right doesn't matter. Like we got the wrong political leader. The culture is going to trash. What do I focus on? I have answers, but like what I do is my go-to is meditation, that quiet space, because I can elevate my consciousness to have more clarity and just better decision making, right? You're going beyond that ego sense of self. What are some other, like, what do you say to that person? And maybe meditation is not for them, or some other way of practice.
Yes. So, right, it's like which curtain are you living behind, right? So if
Right.
we so you and I, we have this consciousness and we're aware of all the manipulations of the darkness, of the stories, of the elite, right? Of the mind control. We're aware of that, but we're not buying into it. We're not feeding fear and anger, like I said. Feed it fear and anger of whatever the opposition is increases that. We're giving our energy to the enemy, right? To the opponent. Say you're boxing. Muhammad Ali used to always talk his people down, right? You're no,
Hmm.
no, 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 right? So the person's like, oh, wait,
Yeah, he was good with that mind game for
right,
sure. The
right.
eyes, right? He would look at them and
Yeah,
then
and he's
he'll
raw,
talk to
get
them.
over them and
Wow.
raw, deep voice, and like, I'm gonna kill you, you're mine, yeah. And the person's like, I'm just here to fight, like to fight. I'm
Just trying
born to
to make
fight.
some
Like,
money.
why you gotta mess with me? So that's what they're doing to us, right? So we have to say, oh, dismiss, cancel, delete. You're not going to trigger me. So when we can understand that those guys are the image from the
Oh no.
what's that silly movie? Sorry, the Yellow Brick Road,
Oh, Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, right? So remember they got there and they're all trembling, right? And they're looking at that big scary image. See the image? See the cell phone? See the media? That's all image. That's a production. Somebody produced that image. So anything that we're looking at that is not our loved one, that is not pictures of our grandma, that is not the tree, that is not a painting that somebody made, right? This is a produced image for a manipulation. Wizard of Oz is the perfect scenario. And then the little dog's like, hey, look over here. And there's just this old man sweating it out, like doing levers and right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
see, they're using sound and image to affect our human nature, to scare us into that red alert thing because we get triggered and we feel alive. So this is all manipulation. So we have to say, okay, yeah, yes, global warming, yes, political, yes, the banking system, yes, the food shortage, yes, the elite, yes, 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 yes. I get it. We have always throughout history struggled. They used to cut people's heads off in public,
Hmm.
right? We had slavery. We're still in slavery. It just looks different. So for us to say, oh, someone said the other day, oh, I don't want to bring a kid into this world. I'm like, they've been saying that every generation.
Yeah.
There's not one generation where they were like, oh, let's have lots of babies. The world is a great place. We, in our generation, last, I don't know, since last World War, we've had an easy street. We don't know what that's like. But in throughout history, it has been darkness. It has been bad. It has been scary. Like food was a survival, you know. So we've always been battling weather and food shortages and who do we trust? And people who we thought we could trust, people in leadership who we thought had our best interests in mind. No, corruption in the churches, in the states, in our school system, and finances. So we've always been disappointed
Hmm.
because we haven't taken our own authority and said, I want to be in charge of me. I don't want you to be in charge of me, but I don't know how to be in charge of me because no one taught me how to be in charge of me because the people who are in charge of me don't want me to know how to be in charge of myself.
So let's say someone is not clear, has no clairs, and pretty much they're interested in this subject matter because it's intriguing, or maybe they have a clair, right? A skill set and they don't know it yet,
Yeah.
right? I feel like that's a lot of people listening
Yes.
or in that realm, right? You have something, maybe, maybe not, And then you have the other extreme, which is like, I just love hearing about this stuff, right? And speaking to that audience, what are some things that you've done with your clients actually to help them cope with what's going on right now and prepare? I'm very curious.
It's really to reduce the screen time because that's a choice we're making. Every day we wake up and we think we're the same person we were yesterday. And we make those same exact choices, the same thought forms, the same food choices, the same content consumption choices. We don't realize that we're making a new choice every day. In the brain, you have synapses, and under the synapses, there's a little groove that happens. And it's easier to put your bicycle wheel in the groove than to like try and not be in the groove and be in new territory. So it's just easier to follow the same groove, same thought because we don't drive home the same time from, same road. Because you don't have to think. It's so much work to
Habitual.
think,
Yeah.
okay? To discern, to be, a part of like, oh, let me look at this. Let me look at this. Let me see this with new eyes. It just takes work. So we're lazy. So we like to be triggered from the fear, and we're also lazy. We want to do things the easy way. So between those two poles, our human nature, our animal nature, we have to go, no, not going to be lazy. Nope, I'm not going to be afraid or angry. There's another way. Oh, look, the middle path.
Hmm.
So Buddhism teaches the middle path. It's very boring, and there's no outside God to pray to and say, tell me what to do. So this time for us in our history is really about the you can say the second coming of Jesus Christ, meaning waking up to your Christ consciousness inside of you. So it's for us to regain that we've been not told about our sovereign nature, our direct connection to that which is beating our heart and breathing our lungs. Because my ego is not beating my heart. Thank goodness, because I don't think I'd make it 5 minutes.
Wait, let's go into elaborating on the Christ conscious, because I think that's very, very important to digest. I know it's not going to be something that's new to people hearing that, but maybe diving into it, we can uncover different perspectives that can enable someone to really take a look into actively working to access that.
So, out of all the religions, everybody kind of has their role and their aspects. So Jesus is known as the master teacher of love. Now, we can't exactly trust everything in the Bible verbatim because it's been translated and manipulated over time and space, but it was divinely inspired. So people can say, you say, what can people do if they don't have the clairs, so clairaudient, clairvoyant? They don't have that skill set, or they don't trust, which is another huge problem.
I feel like everybody has it, but it's the confidence, the connection with self, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my experience has been, as I get closer to that, let's say the connection to self, as I increase that and become more familiar, the clairs start to become more
Yes.
apparent.
Yes. When I work with my clients and they come in and they're like, oh, not getting along with my spouse, I'm like, okay, and we really dig down and we get to the deeper issues that are causing the first problem that they're experiencing. After those issues start getting off of the body, off of the system, out of the mind, the ancestral lineage, the things we've inherited, our environmental influences, we can start calming that down. Almost always their gifts start coming more obvious because, like I said, you have to settle down in order to hear the subtle, right? So pushing away all of this chaos is how we're going to learn who we are, right? What's my behavior? Why am I behaving that way? Why do I get mad about this thing? How much energy am I expending on anger? Why am I always angry? Why am I always afraid? That's a chemical. That's a chemical hit. To live in a state of fear is a chemical hit. We don't realize it. We'll say, no, no, no. I have every reason to be afraid. Oh, I have every reason to be angry. Well, really? Well, that's your reality. If that's working for you, go for it. That doesn't work
Yeah.
for me. I like peace and quiet. I like clarity.
So how do you know that you started to tap into that Christ conscious? Like how how would you describe it? I have an idea, right? But I'm curious to see how you would describe that process happening to someone because you said that as they started to put all those other things down, right? All the things that are tied to the things that don't serve you, right? All the bad programming, whatever you want to call it, it new things come up, and it's more of what you are. And it sounds like that is almost like the dirty windshield of a car that you didn't know was dirty, and you didn't know there was something inside the car. Like, and you start to clean the window up, or maybe you're inside the car and you clean the window, and it's not like nastiness. Is actually there's a whole world out there. Maybe, yeah, I hope that I didn't confuse people with that.
I get it. I get it. So you clean the lenses you're looking through,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So if I have a lens of poverty, I have a poverty lens, and I'm like, oh, 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 take the glasses off. Like, is that true? Is that really true? Because that's you. Is it the whole world? Is it nature? Is it the trees and how many seeds are on every tree? That's not poverty. There's an abundance in nature, right? So if you start studying and things outside of your own programming, you can see that the programming is not true. It's real. I'm experiencing it. It's very true for me. It's very real for me, but it's not the truth. So now, you're asking how can people move from being afraid to not being afraid, basically, right? Because fear is one of our founding deals here. Opposite of fear is trust. So that Christ consciousness that we're talking about, that's just one name of it, right? So if you're not into Christ, then that's offensive. So let's call it resourcing. So inner sourcing.
Mhm.
So if love is one of the foundations of what is true, hate is experienced and it's real. If you wash it out, really explore it all, it's constructed where love is very consistent, very consistent. If you look at nature, you can see that there is order to nature. Even though if I go into the woods, I'll be like, oh, this place is a mess. Right. But if I'm a nature person, I say, well, yes, look at this is happening here, and that's why that's happening, and the birds and the squirrels are planting the seeds, and there's order to it. So order is something nice to each other. Oh, that might be love.
I also
You
see it. Oh, what were you gonna say?
compassion, having self-compassion, like, oh, I got handed a raw deck, in my life, like I got all these five problems, and this is the hand I was dealt in this card game of life. Have compassion for yourself at least. Like, it's a lot of work. It's really rough on me. And well, I'm doing a pretty good job,
Pat yourself
right?
on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing a good job. The small wins. That was something big for me, right? The small wins, becoming satiated with the things that you do and not getting caught up in it's not enough. It's not enough. That's a real. I don't want to say ego killer, but it just dims your light, right? And the whole trust feature, I associate trust with confidence because if you confide in yourself, you're trusting yourself, and that whole inner journey of seeking answers within, right?
Yes.
Sourcing within is huge on confidence because that's the epitome of confidence. You get your answers from sourcing within. And I feel and from personal experience, the more I've done that, the more I'm like, wow, I am pretty badass.
Yes.
because that was my idea. I didn't research that. And so I'm not regurgitating. That was a personal experience. I overcame it. I was searched within myself. I applied it, and then holy crap, that worked. You give yourself much more credit that way instead of just relying on someone else's achievements. And I feel it's that balance too of looking for someone else's achievements and learning from that. But at the same time, I feel like we've gone too far off the ledge, and all of our sourcing, like 98%, is outside of us, right?
Right.
And that can be hijacked.
Easy,
Hijacked.
easy. Right, because you're talking about, like, in the other show we did about somebody's, coming into the brain and talking like that.
Hmm.
So they did get hijacked because their own sovereign system, their own inner resource, their own trust of their own things, it has been jeopardized. And then that comes the hijacking. So if people are doing drugs and alcohol, or they're in depression, or, in a low vibration, it is very, very easy to get in there and manipulate those kind of people on a dark side.
Mm.
So to how can we move from the chaos to the centeredness? How can we push away all of the scary things that are happening and say, okay, yes, they're happening. Now let's go real big. Okay. We're now in the age of Aquarius. So there's a cycle going on. Everything's in cycles. We're also, our earthly existence is in a dualistic program. Black, white, night, day, inhale,
Binary.
exhale. So when we're looking at all of these systems, the patriarch system is finishing, it's collapsing, and the divine feminine is coming online now. So we're in this huge thing of shift right here. How can we navigate this gigantic shift? Because lots of people, if you've noticed, the death rates are higher than normal, and we're all paying attention to them because there's a shakeout that's happening. And in change, there's often loss, right? Even somebody who's getting married, they're like, oh, this is the best thing in my whole life. There's still loss and there's still stress. So any change, even if it's a fantastic change, includes loss, stress, and unknown. We've planned every detail out, but something could happen, right? So we're living in a state of unknown because we didn't write the script. Like all the fires and the earthquakes, snowing in Hawaii. We're like, wow, revelations, it's happening. So there are some scripts out there. But what I can know, and you talked about confidence, confidence is saying, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that I have enough tools, resources, skills, belief in myself that I'm going to make it through. That's what confidence is. And how do we get there? Is we have, okay, this worked out, this worked out, this worked out. I did this. Okay, this accomplished this. Okay. So I have a little track record here that I can rely on, that I was in unknown situations and I made it through out of my own will, my own clarity, and my own mind, and my own trust, and my own, like, please God, please help me now. I need some help. Please, I need a miracle right now. Right. So if we're going to trust in something, we have to trust in our resources and whatever created us, whatever that belief system is. So as a metaphysician, I know that everything, or I believe that everything is connected, that there's an aliveness within all of us, and we can choose our reality based on our references. So if I don't like my reality, I need to change my references. That's a super deep, subconscious work. You can't just go like, I I have $1 million. I have $1 million. I have $1 million. Okay, if that works for you, go ahead. But in the meantime, find systems that do work. And then when you're working with addictions, or, this fear mongering thing, just say, how can I replace that? If I'm addicted to watching videos, how can I stop watching the scary videos and watch the inspirational videos? And then, oh, I'm spending too much time watching videos. Let me put a timer on here. So it's not all or nothing. You want to start, easing yourself away from the negativity. If you call your friend and all you guys are doing is complaining, be aware you're all reclining and be aware of how you feel after that. If you're hanging out with energy suckers and you're just like, oh, and you're like, oh my God, I can't. They just sucked all your energy.
Hmm.
So it's our awareness, like we keep saying about our awareness, to be more aware of, oh, look, how much energy did I spend in this direction? How much of myself did I invest in that thing? Is this beneficial for me when I'm doing anything that you do? Am I really benefiting? Am I increasing my vibration? Is this good for me? How am I serving other people in my family when I'm doing this activity? Right. So we're just asking ourselves more questions, becoming more aware because, like you had mentioned, better choices is the result of success.
Hmm. Hmm. And there's so many things that you can do, right? And to sum it all up, it does sound like, well, I'm gonna put my summary to it, and I'm curious on your summary because I know that we spoke on a lot of different things, but I essentially see it as the more you source within, the more self-aware you will become, and the more obvious the moves will be that you need to take. It'll be easier to say no to the things that don't serve you because you can obviously see that you're being served trash or poop on a platter. Be silver platter, and that's how it was served. But when you open that lid, it's just a pile of just steamy stuff. And that's my like easy summary that I can provide from what we were just talking about. Well, how would you summarize
It was
for them?
beautiful. I agree with that. I agree with that. And then to add to that is, what am I investing in? Right? Because if you look at things in a quantum physics kind of energetic perspective, everything is energy.
Hmm.
I have an amount of energy called time, and I have an amount of energy called attention, and I have an amount of energy called my emotions. How am I investing those things? Am I feeding the poop dealers or am I am I making the world a better place?
Yeah. Now you have honestly, now I'm thinking of a guy on the side of the street just being a dealer of poop and like really good at like selling people that, right? And my mind tries to make things funny so that I can laugh at it and then absorb it easier, right? Comedy helps me understand better. And so I'm just, someone's just like, "You want some poop? No? Do you want some poop?" And like there's a line of people like me, take my money, that insert the meme of take my money, right? Because on a screen somewhere, someone that they buy into said to, poop is good for you, right?
And it's our investment. It's our
Hmm.
investment. We've been given this life. I didn't like, oh, you get to be alive today, Ursula. Push the yes, I'll be alive today button. Right? My life is a gift to my ego. So that's why I'm saying I would like my gift, my source, my resource to take care of my ego instead of my ego trying to take care, because that's very backwards.
Mm.
Right? So my ego is a trained monkey. It's just a trained monkey. And it's just spouting out all this stuff that it's taught and learned and inherited and all of that stuff, right? But my higher soul, my beautiful goddess, eternal, this lifetime, next lifetime, this is my outfit that I'm wearing in this lifetime. This is
Hmm.
temporary. I have another teaching, they say, invest in the eternal.
You know what? I have to share this. Just a thought came up and it was funny. Hopefully you can enjoy this. Because you said, and it was interesting, you said, I need to take care of the ego instead of the ego taking care of me. And I feel like growing up, it's all about the feeding ego and the ego figuring out ways to feed itself, right? And so I'm thinking of the ego being this monkey, right? Because to live in the third density, right, there's limitations, and therefore you have that old paradigm, that ego, that monkey. And I'm thinking of like that bad influence where you have that friend, and I'm thinking of it as this monkey just on your shoulder and like, "Psst, listen, listen, I have a plan." The monkey, it's easy to satisfy the monkey. He just wants bananas, but he comes up with this elaborate way to get bananas. It's like, okay, you see that tree? This is what we're going to do. We're going to talk to these people. And it's just like, it's dangerous. It's stupid. You're going to make a lot of stupid mistakes. But all you have to do is kick the tree and the bananas will fall. You don't have to climb up. You don't have to create this catapult. You don't have to convince the tribe that's going to kill you to go harpoon it so it'll fall. The monkey is using basic tools. He just wants to eat, and whatever he can come up with, he'll just throw it at you. But you have all the answers. Like, you're like, listen to yourself. Don't disregard your reasoning. Don't disregard what you know to be true. Don't stop listening to the monkey who's whispering in your ear and spitting on the side of your face, coming up with these crazy stories on how to do stuff.
And you know what the bananas are? Our connection with the divine.
Different ways to get into the same place.
That's what we're all scrambling for. That's why if we, you know, buy the Fendi bag, we'll be closer to God. you know, it's just we're looking for safety, we're looking for meaning, we're looking for connection, and those kinds of things we get in nature, walking in the woods, holding hands with the people we love, feeling the sun on our skin.
Yeah, and a lot of the doom and gloom, right, is saying that it's going to be very hard to get there. It's saying, here comes a new obstacle. Be ready, be prepared, and this is how we overcome this obstacle. But right, keeping that quiet, still place, which can be a challenge, right? But keeping that still place will help you identify that there are ways of getting there that don't necessarily mean that you have to run away from something. And I think one of the biggest challenges is in general that I see is understanding that there's truth to the challenges that are ahead, and there will always be challenges. And you have the person that's screaming that makes the challenge seem really bad, and it actually makes the challenge worse. And then you have the people that are like, yeah, it's there's ups and downs, it's gonna happen, but what are you gonna do about it?
So these challenges strengthen us. This is a time now where we have to be, because that lazy. Remember, it said about the brain part of our lazy. We want to be lazy. This is like no time for laziness. Like get it together, everybody. No, and no time to feed the fear and anger because you're investing something that's not beneficial. So these challenges are making us stronger, right? You go into martial arts and they're practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing. That's very challenging. The person doesn't want to go lay down now. They want to go walk around. They want to eat their lunch. Oh, practice, 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 practice. But then when it comes to performance time, they're in. You're
Hmm.
like, whoa.
Hmm.
So if we're not challenged, we don't have to face the challenge. We can just sit back and be like, oh, well, the world's kind of a rough place right now.
But be prepared, and
Yeah. So have all of these things, be aware of them and be prepared. Just like our animal nature. Grow your own food, eat less food. Don't eat the garbage food to make you sick. Exercise in case you do have to run from the saber-toothed tiger. Like be your best, healthiest, smartest, wisest self and get distractions off of you as much as possible. Right?
and
Because if we have to be nomadic all of a sudden, like we have been for thousands and thousands of years, we have to retrain ourselves. What do I actually need?
and if you're calm and present and you're listening, I think the road to that place of being prepared and knowing what to do is going to be a lot less bumpy. I
Yeah.
agree. I totally agree. Any closing words? Anything that you felt like we glossed over as we close out today?
I say, because you always are asking action steps, tools, things like that. You're always asking those kinds of things. For instance, I have a meditation group every Tuesday. Everybody is invited. We do it online. Regular meditation, guided meditation, because everyone thinks like meditation is sitting quietly. That's the hardest one. Okay. Don't go for that one. You'll only feel disappointed and feel bad. Like it just puts you back where you came from. So look for different ways of meditating. Everybody's wired a little bit different. Guided meditation is the easiest way. Group guided meditation is super great. Group guided meditation, blessing the planet with loving kindness, like you can't beat that. So I encourage everybody to join my group or start another group or find another group. When we do things in group, we feel safer, we feel more supported, we feel seen, we feel heard. The spiritual path is a lonely path, but we don't have to do it alone. If we find a community that is of the same mind and wants the same things, then stick with that community and help each other. Again, that's our animal nature. We're tribal, we're family, we're mammals. So find your group, find your tribe, and move forward together and reassure, like, oh, yeah, that's that scary thing. I know, but okay, let's keep focus over here. We got to move over here. We got to help people. We got to be self sufficient. We have to be inner resourcing. Let's make each other feel safe and let's sharpen our tools. And that's how we're going to make it through all of the chaotic changes that are coming. And back to the age of Aquarius, the dark stuff is falling away. The sex trafficking, all the ugliness of the ugly is coming up like a boil, right? It was hidden underground and now it's coming up for everybody to see. So we can get rid of it and say, okay, we're done with this. We're not allowing it anymore. And that takes strength and courage, right? Because we've been like this our history. And now we're like, I don't think so. So it's the child growing up to the abusive parent and saying, time for you to go. I'm in charge now.
Mm.
So that's what this, like, oh, it's scary. Yeah, it's scary because we need you to get it together so you can do this, so you can do the right thing, so we can get rid of all of that stuff that's just been programmed in habits and, the condition and all of that stuff. Okay, done with that turn. And now this is a new time for new strengths, new voices, new intentions, new community, new helping one another, new love as a foundation, commercialism, consumption, all of that's fading out because it's really man made. That's not important. If you look throughout all history, buying purses it's not part of the survival.
But you're
We've been
gonna look
distracted.
good.
We've been distracted. So we're just getting back to resetting. The pendulum swinging too far, middle path, simple things, quiet, focus, community, group meditation, group, conversations, all of the stuff that is natural to us.
I love it. I love it. I agree 1,000%. 1,000%. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for this awesome conversation and all the laughs and more to come.